photography really just started out for me as a hobby. At some point when I was maybe 12, 13, 14, at that time, I was skateboarding. I was skateboarding a lot. I still love this sound. Whenever I hear a skateboard on the street, I always look around and ooh, dude, love to see a skateboarding. And this was the time where the first digital consumer cameras really came out. And my parents bought a small point and shoot Canon camera with 3.2 megapixels. And my friend and I liked going to the skate park and we took photos of each other performing tricks. And from then on out, I always wanted to have a camera in some way. When the first smartphones came out that had these potato cameras, I always wanted to have one because I was just fascinated by it. I just liked taking pictures with these. And I always wanted to have a phone with a good camera. And on one birthday, I got one. It was a Sony Ericsson K800i. And this was the first smartphone with an actual flash, like a xenon flash as they called it, it was a proper flash, not just an LED light. And it also had a 3.2 megapixel camera. But even with this little phone back then, you could even get something like bokeh in the background if you go really close, like to a flower or something. And this is where things kind of started. At one point, someone from church sold me his old camera. Wait, I got it here. That dude sold me his old 20D. A Canon 20D. Look at this. That's a really old camera here. Look at the tiny display. I was thinking now it's ridiculous to have a small display like this, right? But this camera already had this fidgety cursor button thing. And this is pretty much where it all started. At some point I had it and I went out and just took pictures of flowers. And starting from that point, I had the camera with me almost all the time. And I just took photos of everything. I've been to youth conferences and been taking pictures of everyone and everything. And after that, I posted everything on Facebook. And it took me ages to link all the people in the photos. But I did this for years. So over the years, lots of people knew my name and knew that I was taking photos because I was doing it and I was posting everything that I thought looked at least a little bit nice. And after the years passed, and over the years I got better cameras, the next one I got was quite an investment for me back then, because it was a 7D, a Canon 7D, which I still have right here, and it still works really fine with the LPE6 battery. There's nothing in here, but it's fine, the buttons are still nice, and it's a real chunk of a camera in your hand. But before getting the 70, I got this 51.4, which still does work, sort of. It's not really. It has some focusing issues, it does. But I could still use it on my R6 actually. Maybe I should do that at some point. It's a good lens, it's a really, really good lens. Because it started making me money. I was taking so many photos of everything and everyone that at some point people started to ask me if I could come and take pictures of them. And then they also asked me, how much do you charge? And that was kind of overwhelming because I thought like, I don't know, what should I charge? Do I charge? Because I had no idea about business or anything. Well, and at some point, people started offering me money. In order to be able to receive that money, because you need to pay taxes, I registered my small business. And then I learned how to write an invoice and everything else. So that was the photography side of things. And the other side of things was that I did a training as an industrial salesman. Because after school, I did not really know what I wanted to do. I didn't think of having photography as a career. And my dad was working at a company which runs in the family, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after school, so yeah, I said yes to doing that sales thing training, which is a 3-year education period. And I did that and I finished that, which actually now gives me a really, really good foundation of how to run a business, because that was one of the first things I learned after school. And from that point on, photography always has been a side hustle. I did more and more weddings on the side, and at some point I was working at Apple as a specialist. and working 2 or 2.5 days a week. And on the other days, and especially weekends, I had quite a few weddings. Yeah. And through these weddings, I was able to afford a maxed out MacBook from 2017. That was nice. My first ever computer that I bought with my own money. But I also had some real difficulties finding my path and what I actually wanted to do, because this sales stuff, it really ruined my creativity. Sitting in a random office and sitting there all day, having phone calls with people that I don't know and that I actually don't even meet because it's just on the phone. And doing that for around 3 years, I mean, it got me a foundation. It helped me to learn how to work through things, right? How to endure circumstances and work through stuff that I don't really like. This is a great foundation, and I think a young person should live through something like that because it just makes you stronger, right? But by working so much, working at Apple and doing all the weddings and everything, I just burned out. It was just way too much. I was so exhausted. It was a fatigue burnout. It was really difficult that time, and I had a period where I actually don't wanted to live anymore. So that was a thing. But at the same time, I did not realize my circumstances. I did not understand how I got to that place that I would wanted to end my life. That was crazy. And I've always been in church and believed in God and everything. And yeah, at some point I just did not stop working. And I did not have capacity to understand my circumstance and how I got there. So what happened is that there's a trampoline park in the city that I lived in at that time. And on that trampoline park, I loved doing backflips and the kind of tricks, front flips, side flips, back flips and everything. And what I recently relearned at that time was a backflip with a twist, right? With the body twist, and pretty difficult actually, but some gymnasts taught me who I met there. And I was doing these, and after 1 hour of jumping and everything, you get just tired and you don't have as much control of your body anymore. And what happened is that I snapped one of the bands in my knee. So that really hurt, and that has had to be operated, and it was a really hard time, and it resulted in me not being able to walk for quite some weeks. I could only lay in bed and everything. And that was really painful. But at the same time, it saved me from my fatigue depression because I was forced to rest, right? So I think God actually allowed this to happen to save me, to force me to finally rest. And while being ill and bound to the bed, I was unemployed. And the great thing about Germany and the healthcare system is that after 6 weeks of not working because of some illness, you get paid by the health insurance. You get paid a portion. So that way I could keep my flat. I simply had time to heal up. And after getting back on my feet, I tried the salesman work stuff one more time. And I again realized this is so awful for me. I drove home crying, and I hated it and everything. It was the worst. And then I quit that job, and then I was unemployed for some time, and I was searching what do I want to do next? And then I thought, okay, I could do photography and everything. Why not? So, because there was a constant thing that I always did. Then I asked a friend of mine. He runs an agency himself. He then simply employed me from 1 month to another, like almost instantly. I just asked and had a job. And since then, I'm working at that agency. And now photography and videography has become my full-time career. On the side, I still do my own projects that are simply a financial bonus in my life, because through my employment, I'm able to pay all of my bills and everything that comes in through my photography is extra. And this is how I can afford really cool equipment. And it's a lot of fun. It's cool. And now, if you're interested to know how I'm able to afford a few Canon L glass lenses, 2 Canon R6, a Leica, and a lot of other things, then you can click this video here. And have a good day.